G'day guys. I want to share something a bit personal today. I've got high cholesterol. On the carnivore diet, that's pretty common. But here's the thing, I'm not worried about it, and I'll tell you why. First off, I actually went and got myself a CAC test. That's a coronary artery calcium score, which is one of the best indicators of whether your arteries are getting clogged. And my score came back as 0. That means my arteries are clean. No build-up, no blockages. So right there, that gave me peace of mind. For years, we've been told that cholesterol is the villain, clogging up our arteries and causing heart attacks.
Got your cholesterol checked, you listened to me and not to Dr. Oz, and the doctor calls you up and says your LDL, or bad cholesterol, is high. What should you do?
We've been warned that if our numbers go up, we're basically sitting on a ticking time bomb. That's exactly what I thought at first when I saw my cholesterol results. But once I started digging into the actual science, listening to doctors who have spent decades studying this, the story completely changed. The truth is, cholesterol is essential for life. And when you really look at the evidence, statins, the drugs prescribed to lower cholesterol, provide very little benefit and can actually cause harm. So today, I want to walk you through why I'm not worried about my high cholesterol, why I don't see it as a disease, and what the real causes of heart disease are. Cholesterol isn't some toxic sludge floating around in your blood. It's a vital molecule. Every single cell in your body contains cholesterol in its membrane. Without it, your cells would literally fall apart. Your brain is packed with cholesterol. It's used to make hormones, testosterone, estrogen, cortisol. It's needed for vitamin D, bile acids for digesting fat, and even for repairing tissue. So when we demonize cholesterol, we're demonizing something the body needs to survive. Dr. Paul Mason, here in Australia, explains this beautifully. Cholesterol is essential, and the idea of good and bad cholesterol is deeply misleading. In one of his talks, he says, LDL is not bad cholesterol. It's just cholesterol being transported. If it's oxidized or glycated, that's when it becomes a problem. That distinction is crucial. The myth of good and bad cholesterol. You've probably heard of HDL and LDL. HDL is called good cholesterol. LDL is called bad cholesterol. But here's the catch. Neither of them is actually cholesterol. They're lipoproteins, little transport vehicles carrying cholesterol, fat, and other nutrients around your bloodstream. LDL is just doing its job, delivering cholesterol to tissues that need it. HDL brings cholesterol back to the liver. They're part of the same system working together. The real issue isn't the cholesterol itself, it's whether those LDL particles become damaged, oxidized, or glycated. And what damages them? High blood sugar, high insulin, chronic inflammation, things that come from processed food, sugar, and seed oils. Dr. Malcolm Kendrick, a cardiologist who's written The Great Cholesterol Con, argues that heart disease is much more complex than just blaming LDL. Inflammation, stress, and damage to the arterial lining play a far bigger role. And Dr. Anthony Chaffee, another Australian doctor and leading voice in the carnivore community, has been really outspoken about this too. He often points out that high cholesterol is common in people on species-appropriate diets, and that doesn't automatically translate to higher heart disease risk. As he says, cholesterol is not the enemy. The real enemy is chronic inflammation, driven by the modern diet. Why high cholesterol isn't automatically bad. So when someone says, your cholesterol is high, you need to fix it, the first question should be, what does that actually mean? High LDL on its own isn't a disease. There are people with high LDL who live long, healthy lives. In fact, some studies have found that older people with higher cholesterol actually live longer. Think about it. Cholesterol is part of your immune system. LDL particles can bind to and neutralize toxins and bacteria. They help repair damage. So in some cases, higher cholesterol may even be protective. On a carnivore diet, cholesterol can rise, but usually HDL and LDL particle size gets larger and fluffier, which is considered less risky. Triglycerides usually drop, and that's a very positive sign. low triglycerides and high HDL is a far better predictor of heart health than just looking at LDL in isolation. And this is something Dr. Mason often emphasizes too, that the triglyceride to HDL ratio is a much more powerful marker than LDL alone. On a low-carb diet, that ratio improves dramatically. What statins actually do. Now, statins. Statins are drugs that block an enzyme in your liver called HMG-CoA reductase. That's a key step in cholesterol production. Your liver responds by pulling more LDL out of your blood, so your cholesterol levels drop on a blood test. It sounds good on paper. Lower cholesterol should mean lower risk of heart attacks, right? But the reality is, lowering cholesterol doesn't necessarily translate into longer or healthier lives. The real benefits of statins. This is where the numbers get interesting. Drug companies often report results in terms of relative risk reduction. For example, they'll say statins reduce the risk of heart attack by 30%. Sounds huge. But when you look at the absolute risk reduction, the benefit is tiny. Dr. David Diamond has shown this really clearly. If you take 100 people at risk of heart disease and put them on statins for 5 years, maybe one person avoids a non-fatal heart attack. One. The other 99 get no real benefit, and when it comes to total mortality, living longer, statins don't show much effect at all, especially in people who've never had a heart attack before. Even in secondary prevention, people who have already had a heart attack, the benefit is smaller than most people realize. Yet statins are prescribed to millions of people worldwide as if they're some kind of miracle drug. And then we've got the side effects. Statins interfere with the body's production of coenzyme Q10, which is crucial for energy production in your cells. That's why many people on statins complain of muscle aches, weakness, and fatigue. There's also evidence of cognitive side effects, memory loss, confusion, brain fog. Remember, your brain is one of the most cholesterol-rich organs in the body. Cutting off its supply doesn't sound like a great idea. Statins can also increase the risk of type 2 diabetes. That's right, the very drug meant to reduce heart disease risk can worsen one of the main drivers of heart disease. Dr. Asim Malhotra, a UK cardiologist, has been very outspoken about this. He's argued that the harms and the overprescription of statins outweigh the benefits for most people, especially when lifestyle changes like diet and exercise are far more effective. What really causes heart disease? So if cholesterol isn't the enemy, what is? The main drivers of heart disease are metabolic dysfunction and inflammation. High blood sugar damages the lining of your arteries. Insulin resistance leads to a cascade of problems. Seed oils, with their fragile omega-6 fats, oxidize easily and create inflammation. Processed food strips the body of nutrients and overloads it with sugar and chemicals. This is why so many people with normal cholesterol still get heart disease. It's not about one number on a blood test. It's about the overall metabolic health of the body. Why carnivore and low carb make sense? On a carnivore or low carb diet, you cut out sugar and seed oils. You stabilize blood sugar. You lower insulin. Triglycerides plummet. Inflammation markers drop. That's a metabolic environment where the arteries are protected, where the risk factors for heart disease are reduced, even if cholesterol levels go up. And that's exactly why I'm not worried about my cholesterol. Because the overall picture of my health is improving. I've got more energy, better focus, reduced inflammation, and improved markers across the board. I'd much rather have that than a lower cholesterol number on paper, but still be inflamed and insulin resistant. Dr. Anthony Chaffee often says this too, that a carnivore diet gets rid of the foods driving chronic disease. And once those are gone, your body naturally moves back into a healthy state. So here's where I land. I don't see cholesterol as a disease. It's a necessary part of the biology of my body and everybody else's. There's no reason to fear it. Blaming cholesterol on heart disease is like blaming firemen for being at a fire. They're there to do a job, so we shouldn't be blaming cholesterol on heart disease. Statins, on the other hand, provide no real benefit and have real downsides. The real solution is to look at your diet and your lifestyle and cut out those processed foods and the seed oils and anything that raises inflammation. The real solution is to fix the root causes, looking at your inflammation and insulin resistance. Now, I'm not telling anybody to throw away their medication. That's a decision you can make with your doctor. What I am saying is we are being told a very one-sided story about cholesterol. So if you've been told that you have high cholesterol, don't panic. Look at your metabolic markers, look at your triglycerides and your HDL. Look at the ratio between HDL and triglycerides. Maybe they're more important for you. So focus on real food, not processed junk. That's my take. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell, make it ring a ding ding. Leave me a comment, tell me what you think, and I'll catch you in the next one.